on the shore. You said to me that you wanted more, but I couldn't give to you what you couldn't give to me. And now all I've got's these broken woman blues.
Sounds like Mandarin, Wayne.
Life, I loved you and I walked away. Nothing gained, nothing fades, except these broken woman blues. Twisted shackles round my neck, I broke your body and then took you back. And now all I've got's these broken woman blues. The darkness found you and brought you in. Said you'd never stay away from sorry men, but I couldn't find in you what you couldn't find in me. And now all I've got's these broken woman blues. Life, I loved you and I walked away. Nothing gained, nothing fades, except these broken woman blues. Twisted shackles round my neck, broke your body and then took you back. And now all I've got's these broken woman blues. And now all I've got.
Yeah, all I've got is these broken women blues. Clara Rose, isn't that an absolute cracker of a song from Clara Rose that we bumped into at the Rory Gallagher Festival a few weeks back? And she's got some voice and a great band. And that is Clara Rose, Broken Woman Blues. We will add that link to that video and that song on our show notes. Welcome, everybody. It's Friday. It's the Sussex Plans Chat Club. It's 1 o'clock. Where we talk about AI innovations and ethics in marketing and business for 30 minutes every Friday. I'm PR Smith, founder and author of Sustack Planning. We have Reggie Johnson all the way from Fort Worth, Texas. Good morning to you, Reggie.
Good morning.
And we've got Wayne Denner from Warrenpoint, County Down. He's our safe tech talker. Wayne, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Now, we've got, as always, a busy session. We're going to talk about pervert goggles. We'll also look at Meta collecting even more data. Would you pay £300 to help Meta collect more data about you and your friends and contacts? We'll be looking at Apple suing OpenAI. Big news this week, breaking. We'll do part 2 of PR entering the era of AI memory. And this is quite interesting. It's all common sense stuff, and we'll have a look at that. Then we're going to have a look at Palantir, the meltdown this week. What a crazy week over cult imagery. And we'll have a little look at Peter Thiel. He's got a tech gathering that was going to happen in Ireland, a secretive group together. We'll tell you about that. It's now abandoned. Then we go back to Wayne's world. I'm going to get Wayne to tell us about what's going on with child safety at the moment, and Instagram trying to use your images and much more. And we'll finish with a very positive piece, which is entitled AI Isn't the Product. Possibility is the product. It's just a different way of looking at AI, so we'll talk about that at the end. Right, so let's kick off with pervert goggles. Now, this is something I saw from Natalie Kiriakou, and she says these are pervert goggles. It's been reported, she says, that Meta aimed to equip its AI glasses with facial recognition technology, which would allow anyone wearing them to identify by name any strangers in the vicinity. So these glasses also allow the wearer to film people without their knowledge or their permission, I guess, really. And so it's really quite naughty, this, and it's upsetting a lot of people. And so in this increased world of surveillance, these glasses are and will be perhaps weaponized primarily against women and children to film, harass, and stalk them. Who knows? I know that's not the primary purpose of them, but, you know, these things can be used in different ways. And It's quite forthright, this piece. I thought it was quite strong from Natalie. And she says, look, it's as simple as this. These should be banned. These glasses should be banned. And governments are not moving fast enough to counter this unchecked invasion of dangerous technologies into people's lives. So that makes me think even a bit more. I mean, that's pervert goggles. You might classify them as pervert goggles. But another question's come up more recently. I'm going to ask you about this, Wayne. Would you pay £300 to help Meta collect even more data?
Yeah, and picking up from what you've just covered a couple of moments ago, Paul, that is the real question behind these smart glasses, because they're not just really clever spectacles in a sense. They're actually cloud connected cameras and microphones, which a lot of people don't really realize. They're worn on your face, and as you said a couple of moments ago, they're capturing data from all around of you, and they're able to identify people. Now, just last week, and it gets a little bit worse, the Financial Times reported that Meta is testing super sensing glasses, which are always on. Every photo is taken every couple of seconds, building the AI memory of everything you actually see and you hear. And to add more to this, people have already been tampering with the built-in flashing light on the camera.
Which does what? What does the light do?
So what the light does is effectively alerts people who are in the vicinity that you're actually wearing these glasses, excuse me, and you're recording. And if people can't see that light, then they don't know that they're actually being filmed or recorded. And if you take this into a safeguarding setting where you go into a park, for example, or you go to a swimming pool where people are, in private environments, these glasses can be used to collect lots and lots of very, very sensitive content. And then that content could be live streamed. So Meta, to be fair, and it's important to give a little bit of balance, just last week have rolled out an update to say that they can detect now if the camera has been, or not the camera, the light has been disabled. So if anybody has tampered with the light or they've disabled the light, Meta then can take steps to block and ban your account. So they have done that. But one just final point to add on this, these glasses are costing about 300 quid. You can go on to any of the Chinese websites now, you can pick up these similar types of glasses for about 40 quid.
From Alibaba or somebody?
From Alibaba or one of these websites, one of these shopping sites. And they're ranging from about 45 quid upwards. And I've seen quite a few people testing them on TikTok, and the results are incredible.
Wow.
Paul, you talked about how governments aren't acting quick enough or you read a quote about how governments aren't acting quick enough to control this release of something that could be so damaging. I believe we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We talked about the fact that one of the potential ways that these glasses could be used from a story we read was governments that are looking for increased surveillance of citizens or of dissidents can use this because Meta will cooperate with the U.S. government, say the Trump administration, to identify people that were at a protest or at a some sort of a event that's showing disconnection or protest against the Trump administration. Trump can then track those people or potential immigrants. So because they can access this data from Meta by saying we have a national security reason to need all your data. So it's one reason why governments might be slow to act, at least in some cases, might be because they see it as a possibility for increasing their power or their stronghold over the power that they have.
Yeah. So it is like a spyglass, really. It's a public spyglass. Meta's public spyglasses.
It's also, when you think about that, the hands in government, it's very Orwellian. Sorry, go ahead, Wayne.
And it's also important to remember, and you guys will remember this, Google Glasses from many years ago, and Snapchat tried it as well, but it just never really gained traction, where this is the first time we're really seeing a brand such as Ray-Ban coming in behind it and producing the frames and having a partnership with a platform like Meta to produce the technology then to be able to live stream and capture audio and video. So it's a very interesting time for this technology, but a worrying time as well.
Indeed, yeah.
Quick comment to share here. It was, we need government legislation that such glasses need to send out an audible and visual warning, like Lori's reversing, that these are being worn in the vicinity. then see how quickly the owners take them off. That comment was from Robin Davis.
Oh, nice one, Robin. Yeah, thank you for
It's a
that.
really good point. Really good
Yeah,
point.
yeah. So, boy,
But
I think there'll be lawsuits galore from this, because when people start saying you don't have permission to take my photograph or my video,
well, the
people
worry
can
I
sue.
have, Paul, is the cheaper versions of these glasses coming out
Yeah.
at the moment that do not have any safeguards in place.
Yeah.
At least you have Meta in behind it, who are trying to implement safeguards, albeit they could be doing it better.
Yeah.
But you have these other developers, you have these other technology platforms and creators who are creating cheaper alternatives of this particular type of glasses and rolling it out into the marketplace with no safeguards.
Indeed. So, but even with safeguards or without them, you know, your face is being filmed by somebody wearing glasses looking at you. You haven't given permission. Now, you or me mightn't take them to court, but if it's a CEO of some major company, you may well say, or an author or somebody with their own brand identity, they may say, I'm taking you to court. And every person, you know, they might do, as they're doing with the large language models, collective lawsuits. I'm involved in one myself as an author. And they can bring people together. So there might be a backlash. We'll see. But there is another suit going on at the moment, Reggie. This is Apple suing OpenAI.
Yeah, well, this is somehow it doesn't come as a surprise that OpenAI is being sued for intellectual property theft. Just in the context that we have been hearing from a number of stories about the number of authors and content creators who are upset about the way that OpenAI has trained their AI models. So Apple recently has filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court of Northern California, accusing it's the chief hardware officer for OpenAI, who worked for Apple for 24 years, and they're saying that he has orchestrated this process of taking former Apple employees and getting trade secrets by hiring them at OpenAI. And there are some specifics, like a former Apple employee who did not return an Apple laptop, and they believe that this information that was on this laptop was used to help build some of OpenAI's products. OpenAI is expected to be coming out with their first hardware offering soon, and it's expected, this is according to the Financial Times first released this report, is picked up by Futurism, and one of our friends on LinkedIn shared it with us. But anyhow, the idea is, are they finding and targeting former Apple employees to help them build their new hardware device, which will compete with the iPhone? So Apple's filing a lawsuit. We'll see how it works out. It'll be interesting to follow. The idea of these companies having a little bit more ability to sue each other for intellectual property theft than the average content creator is also an interesting dynamic that always has a lot of people commenting on these stories when we have them suing each other as opposed to content creators suing them.
Yes, this one is different. And when a big boy like Apple decides to sue OpenAI, that's a significant moment. So we'll keep an eye on that one and see what happens with that, Reggie. Thanks for that. I promised last week to continue talking part 2 about PR entering an era of AI memory. So this is part 2. And this is written in the AI Journal, and actually, it's quite a Evan White wrote a really excellent piece, and we put on PR Spec everything we're talking about. So in part 1, we kind of talked about AI systems becoming intermediaries between organizations and audiences. So from a comms point of view, well, where does that take us in a PR world, in the world of PR? So this is written around the world of PR. So part 2, we're going to look at very briefly market memory, the reputation graph, and something called evidence marketing. And that will take us into the new PR funnel and the era of AI memory. So I guess you could summarize last week by saying the goal is to generate accumulated body of credible proof. That's what PR people should be, and marketers, be busy doing, particularly with AI search and finding at the moment. So the first term they use is market memory. And this is where I believe that the profession is undergoing its most significant strategic shift. And we call it market memory. Market memory. Now, market memory, what is it? It's not about awareness. It's not about impressions. It's not about brand recall alone. Market memory is more about, what a market collectively remembers to be true about you or your brand. So there's not, it's traditional sort of coverage and so on. But the twist in it is, you want to accumulate evidence, proof of the customer experience, conversations with customers, awards, media coverage, customer success, analyst reports, exclusive product performance reviews and culture reinforcement. All this is now building a platform to allow AI to trust us or our sources. So that's kind of what we mean by building this organization with a strong memory. They found that consistent narratives, and if you have a more consistent public narrative, then you've got a greater presence in the marketplace. If you're consistent. If you're inconsistent, you're fragmenting and breaking up your image and becoming weaker effectively. And that takes us into the reputation graph. Now, there's nothing too new with the reputation graph. I mean, that's been around for yonks in the world of PR in particular. But it's actually saying, just keeping an eye on the strength of that graph from a consistency perspective. Are you being positioned as you want to be positioned? Are you seen as you want to be seen? Are you in control of this? Define how you want to be seen, and then all your briefs go out from there. Which takes us into evidence marketing. This is the one that's the most interest to me here, actually, is if AI changes how people discover information, which we accept it does, it also changes what kind of marketing becomes more effective. So for a long time, decades, we've kind of built marketing around making claims. But evidence marketing is not built around making claims. It's about proving those claims. So there's a little subtle shift going on there and making proof easily available to bots that want to scoop us up, hopefully our brand, and include us. So this may be, a distinction that may become one of the defining competitive advantages in the AI era, is to be aware of this sort of strength from evidence marketing, a new importance of evidence-based marketing. So the organizations that stand out increasingly have evidence. They use evidence all the time to prove what their claims were. Back in the day, it was just claims. So evidence doesn't replace storytelling. It makes stories believable. And that's the big thing. Advertising rents attention, but evidence compounds trust. When the campaign ends, the evidence remains. So we've got to work hard on the evidence, which brings us into the new PR funnel. And I would challenge some of the thinking that's in this piece here about the idea of visibility comes first and then comes credibility. I personally don't agree with that. I'm actually writing a 20-word executive insight quote for executive learning for the AI Game Changers group I'm involved in, and it's going to be around develop credibility before raising visibility. I really feel you've got to work hard on that front and then be ready. And after that comes memory and recommendations and advocacy and all that good stuff. So the big word of the day is AI memory, and it's a way of thinking about the new job that AI has to do. And that's from Evan White in the AI Journal. Okay.
Paul, can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
I'm very interested in the point, and I remember reading this from a long time ago from one of your books about building credibility before building visibility. Is the difference, though, in what's meant by credibility, as in whether you're talking about you're building a site that's credible and shows credibility and is high enough quality before you send people to it? That's one way to think about credibility before visibility. The other way would be people have to know you before you can persuade them that you're credible and trustworthy. Is that a difference in the meaning of the word credibility in those two situations?
Yeah, that's great. That's a beauty. I would say that stop all your advertising, stop all your emails, stop all your promotions to companies that, for example, their own website, if it doesn't have credibility built into it, or if it hasn't got good customer experiences built into it, all you're doing by raising visibility is annoying more people. In fact, BT, when they went private many years ago, I remember they had the biggest ad budget in the UK, 100 million ad campaign, the biggest ever in the UK. And all they did, and I was training them at the time, and I used to say to them, stop all your marketing, stop your TV campaigns, because all you're doing is being a lousy low-profile company to suddenly being a lousy high-profile company. How crazy is that? So why build borders around yourself and pen yourself in as being confirming you're a lousy company because they haven't addressed the basic customer experience. So build the credibility, customer experience, reviews and ratings, get all these things in place. So you build the evidence basically, and spend time and effort on developing the credibility and editing those talks you've done on video, that you might reproduce on your website to show that you are an authentic expert. Work hard at all the credibility stuff. We give it it's like an add-on as opposed to being the foundation, the credibility factors. Yeah.
Got it.
So something really strange happened with credibility, actually, the more I think of it, this week. And this is Palantir. Now, we kind of mentioned Palantir because they do some incredible things. Mostly not the most honorable in my opinion, but we have this week a Palantir sort of staff meltdown. This is from within Palantir. Is this right, Reggie?
Yeah, when you are running a business and when you're looking from the public relations or communication standpoint, one of your most important audiences is your internal stakeholders, right? I think you've written about this as well, Paul. Like when you're talking about new news, they always talk about, or something new happening with a company, it's really important to tell your internal stakeholders first, keep them informed, prioritize them. And I think we're seeing maybe some of the big tech companies have moved away from this. And we've read over and over again stories where it says the internal stakeholders, the employees, are the last to know, and they're learning about these things from the news. Well, this is a similar situation. Paul Walsh, one of the people we follow on LinkedIn, shared this. Joe Wilkins from Futurism wrote about this. It was also covered in the Financial Times. But there was a video that was posted by Palantir on their official channels on Twitter, or formerly Twitter X, that showed the company logo surrounded by cult imagery, bloody crosses, and the Grim Reaper. And in the context of this is a company where the Alex Karp, one of the founders, and Peter Thiel have talked about how things like freedom and democracy are not compatible, they don't believe, and that their company Palantir exists to scare enemies and on occasion kill them, and that some people are going to get their heads cut off. So this is a company that has leaned into the almost dystopian shock reactionary space. Yeah, so what this video caused, though, was a lot of the absolute internal meltdown, and that's a quote from the Financial Times, it was because the employees were wondering, how do we explain this to our clients? One of the employees said, my client is a children's hospital. How do I explain this video to them? Now, this video has since been deleted. Yeah. But if you're on an account for a children's hospital and you're trying to sell them your software, and one of the CEOs or one of the executives puts out a video like this, which kind of supports this whole "we're there to kill America's enemies" and whatever you say, how do you explain that to a children's hospital that you're trying to sell your product to?
Yeah, Alex Karp is one of the strangest people I've ever come across in my experience of looking at marketing and communications and PR, and it mixed in with the AI world. I mean, he just never ceases to amaze the weirdness of some of the stuff he says. It's appalling. And then this goes out and then upsets the staff, and then it's taken away. I think these guys are just chancing their arm half the time. Put somebody up, take it down. That's a good example now of damaging your credibility, spending money putting that up, that ad, and then you got to take it. So it's farcical.
But it keeps them in the news. It keeps them in the. Is that more valuable? I mean, we've seen that with politicians that have had success by keeping themselves in the news. Yeah. Half the people are horrified. Half the people are like, yeah.
Well, the stock markets may react differently. We shall see whether, any news is good news. No, it's not. That's not the case. Oftentimes, any news can be very bad and damaging news. Another story before we come back to Wayne about child safety is Peter Thiel, who, of course, was one of the co-founders of Palantir. Now, he was having a secretive gathering, more kind of cult stuff. 200 plus powerful figures from the world of US politics, finance, and technology. Invitation only. It was going to be in Paris Court Hotel in Enniskerry. I'm actually very nearby. I'm in County Wicklow right now, and going for a swim in about half an hour in the sea. But it's very near here, Paris Court. Beautiful hotel. They actually had the Ryder Cup up there a few years ago. But Thiel was a co-founder of PayPal and Palantir. and it's kind of a secret society meeting. But guess what? Because the word got out who this secret meeting was about, there were US senators involved in it and all sorts, and Irish government members, but it's been abandoned. They've cancelled it because they didn't realise it was this kind of a cult thing. They said they don't, so it's dropped, which I think is probably a good thing. Staying with good thing or bad things, Wayne, Instagram, trying to use your images, and it's the same theme. It's recurring all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be. And this is Instagram being one of the latest to turn a setting on within users' accounts, an AI setting, most notably, but basically allows strangers to generate AI images using any of your public Instagram photos. Now, this is important for even parents to keep in mind, that if you have a public Instagram account where you've been uploading pictures of your children, then if this setting is enabled on your account, then that could allow complete random strangers to use AI to generate AI photographs of either yourself or your children. Now, there is good news. Because of the backlash and the talk of this, Instagram have since pulled this feature and rolled back. They did a similar about turn or a U-turn that TikTok did back in April, where there was backlash from the TikTok community that their videos could be used by other users to create AI generated content. Now, I went into this in a little bit more detail, Paul, in my latest LinkedIn newsletter. And I focused on 3 key areas that technology companies really need to think about. And I think this is really important. There's a bit of a trend happening at the moment where they're secretly rolling out these updates, and they're not telling you or I about this. Whenever I find out about something like this, I often stumble across it when I go in through my settings. I'm like, oh, there's a new AI setting turned on. I wonder what that means. But most people don't check the settings from week to week or month to month. So the platforms are seemingly rolling this out in the darkness of night, if you will. So three things I talked about in my latest LinkedIn newsletter. Point of change notification, not a silent rollout. That's really, really important. Opt in as opposed to opt out. I think that's critical. They shouldn't be opting people out or opting people into these particular AI features without some form of consent. It could be a simple little pop-up when you log into the app. We have now updated our settings, and these settings are turned on by default. If you don't want them, opt out, or if you do want them, opt in, whatever it might be. And the third and final thing I thought, which was really, really important, a public plain language change log that people can see. Easy to find, not buried in the terms and conditions full of legal jargon. But we are seeing a bit of a trend here where more of these tech companies are turning on these features by default, and people do need to be aware of that.
Wayne, do you think though that the fact that they consistently, we've seen rolling it out in the dead of night, opt in by default without telling you and without an option to know about it, and then not having a plain language log, don't you think that shows that they know that people don't want to be opted in, and that they won't choose to opt in, and that there will be backlash, and they're trying to get around that because they feel like they want this bad enough that they don't care that it's not good, well, not what their customers want. I mean, I feel like we've seen a lot from the social media companies, this is my opinion, where they've shown that they're not terribly concerned about what their users want because they care only about what their bottom line is, even if that makes the experience worse for users.
I completely agree, Reggie. And I think one of the big things we have seen, and I have noticed this, the backlash, they do take notice. So it's good that people are pulling back against this. They're resistant against it. They don't want it. They want to be notified. They want to understand how their data is being used, how their photographs are being used, and how that's going to be used in the future. And that's a thing that people really, really are looking for. So the fact that Instagram have rolled back on this, TikTok have rolled back on this, Snapchat hasn't yet rolled back. They still have that turned on by default, because I checked the other day on another Snapchat account I have that they've got a feature for generative AI turned on within the settings that allows them to scan your public content.
That's awful. That's very, very worrying. Wayne, please keep us updated with that, because it's changing every week or every other week. It seems there's a new development there, so we really need to stay on top of that. Okay, Wayne, we'll take the link. If you send me that link to your newsletter, piece, and we'll publish that on pearsmith.org/blog. It'll be tomorrow. I'm sorry, before I get to it, I'm just dashing out the door here in Dublin, or in Wicklow, County Wicklow, where I am. So, but let's just finish on a positive note. And this is a piece that I saw written by Alexei Navalokhin. Now, Alexei's got almost 1 million followers. He's quite a popular guy. And he said, AI is not the product. And you've got to stop thinking that way. AI is not the product. Possibility is the product. Now, what he did was he took an ad, an old ad actually, from Mattel, the kids' toy company. And he took one of their ads and he made a parallel commentary, and it's actually quite brilliant. This, he shows kids playing the role of adults, pretend to be a doctor, pretend to be a nurse, pretend to be the ambulance man, all that sort of stuff. And this video, it's a video of the week, and we're going to post it up on pearsmith.org/blog. But it shows this kid, and he's in a lecture hall. He's lecturing university students, and he's saying, "How big do you think the brain is?" And he's asking the audience. They're all going, "What's this little 3-year-old asking me these questions for?" And then it cuts to another 3 or 4-year-old in a veterinary surgery, and this lady brings in her dog, and the little kid says, "Hi, I'm your vet today." And the person's going, "What? Yeah, I'm taking care of your dog today. And can your dog fly?" says the child. And the woman says, "I'm sorry." She says, "Can your dog fly?" And the woman says, "No." And then the little kid goes, "Well, mine can." And you're just thinking, how beautiful is this freedom of thought? The possibility is anything. And it's making the point, I guess, this is really what it's all about, is that, the greatest innovations don't just change technology. They change because people believe in possibilities, that stuff couldn't be done, can be done. And it's just really picked up the whole concept of AI for good for me, AI for good. If we all start thinking, how could we use AI for good? What an amazing world this could be. And they kind of took the theme, which I really liked about this, saying, what if we could empower women to feel as free as those kids were there? Now, women first is the angle that Alexei took on this. It can apply to us all, and it should apply to us all. AI can make the world a better place. And if we think from a child, these children were learning from playing roles with doctors and nurses, that they really are a doctor or nurse. And then they're thinking, well, why can't I be a doctor or nurse? And, why can't I do something else with AI? Why can't I turn the world on its head? Yes, you can. And it's a nice way to think about AI, as particularly AI for the better, AI for good, and young people using it. So let's encourage all and sundry to use AI sensibly, responsibly, and creatively to make the world a better place. We've got a bit over time. I'm sorry about that, folks. Reggie and Wayne, I have to say thank you once again for logging in. We'll play this Clara Rose piece again to say farewell to everybody. Goodbye I'm looking out the window and can see the sea here in Greystone. So I wish you all a great weekend. We've got golf on, we've got rugby on, we've got the World Cup, poor old England gone. It's a busy week of sport. There's more to come. Ireland are playing the All Blacks 8 o'clock tomorrow. Don't miss that, Wayne. That's a big game. I'm off for a swim, gentlemen, in the sunny sunshine of County Wicklow. I wish you well. Here's Clara Rose, just to bring us back to this beautiful blues singer, one of her many songs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Have a great weekend.
Got no promises to keep, got no lines to cut me deep. All I've got's these broken woman blues. Got a head full of memories and no shred of decency to get me through these broken woman blues. When you found me broken on the shore, you said to me that you wanted more, but I couldn't give to you what you couldn't give to me. And now all I've got's these broken woman blues.
Farewell, folks.